Alright, hello again, and welcome back to Old Man's RC. I am, of course, the Old Man. Today we are working on a new project. Alright, this is the new project. It is the Arrma Granite BLX V3. And I bought this carcass, no wheels, to build a tough beastly basher out of. Came with no electronics, no nothing. Basically it was just a slider, no wheels. Suspension and chassis basically is the only thing I got with this. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna go step by step of what, little by little. It'll probably be a 3, maybe 4 video series building up a basher from the ground, and take you guys along with me. Here we go. So for this project I have a 120 amp Spectrum Smart ESC, the Spectrum Arrma 2400 kilovolt 4S motor. This is basically the Creighton 4S V2 setup here. I am going to build this as a 4S vehicle. See how it handles it. Might only be running it at 3S, but we'll see. I kind of think the Granite will be able to take 4S without being too bunkers. We have a hot racing, really heavy duty motor mount and block for it. Let's see, what do we got in this one? Oh, we have the Surpass Hobby dual fan. These fans work very good. I have them in both my Creighton 6S and my Kaiju EXT 6S, and they keep them both nice and cool. We have, these are 25 kilogram servo. I actually ordered 2 of them because, well, they're still not really all that tested for me, and I wanted to have a backup in case I burn one out. So we have our servo. I also am not a big fan of the Arrma plastic shocks, so I picked up these Hobby Park aluminum shocks, and like the Creighton 6S, they have the rubber sleeves over the shock shafts. I don't know if you can see that through the plastic bag or not, but trust me, they're there. I suppose I can cut one out of the bag. These look like they're nice beefy shocks, nice and smooth. I'll probably be upgrading the, that was close. I also picked up these nice beefy shocks because I am not a fan of the Arrma plastic shocks. These look very similar to the Creighton EXB shocks. They have the rubber boots over the shafts. They feel nice and smooth. They should do well. And that's all we got in. Oh, no, that's not true. I'm also making this a wide conversion, kind of a wide max conversion to it. I have the Arrma 3S BLX A-arms by RPM, and some upgraded heavy duty turnbuckles, clipless body mounts, and body protection that I didn't really buy for this project. That's just what came in today. And yeah, those are parts we're going to be using to do this. And let's get into stage 1. All right, so we're going to start this journey with the control arm, basically suspension upgrades, and get digging into that right away. So we're going to start on the rear because, well, why not? To get these pins out of the back here, you got to take this small one out of here. My little screw tray over here where I can see it. Then we take a pick tool. After I put it together. And push that out. I'm gonna need some needle nose to pull that out. And that allows us to get that apart. We'll also need to take these out. Well, we don't need to, but we're going to anyway. And on our assembly, we are going to pull these screws out, get some Loctite in there so these don't come apart. The axles look like they're in fair shape. This carcass doesn't look like it was beat up too badly. I'm going to go ahead and pull the wheelie bar off to get it out of our way.
That screw back in my ring just so I know where it is.
I'm going to take the shock off. Yeah, stock shocks don't feel too bad. I'm sure just a fluid upgrade would do wonders for them, but heard too many war stories about these stock plastic ones leaking, and I do plan on beating this truck up. It's kind of the whole point of this build, is that I want to build a tank for some really extreme punishment. So, trying to get as many good parts on it as I can. Just taking apart the other side of the suspension before I flip it over and get to taking it apart so I can take the control arms apart. The lower control arms off, I should say. Pick tool. And that one was a little more ornery. but both of them look straight. So that's a plus. Again, this axle looks like it's in pretty good shape. Even though I lost, oh, there's the other one. So I'm going to set those down kind of in order so we don't get confused on which side is which. The differentials feel great, so I'm not going to dig into them just yet. But flip it on over here and get a bigger Allen. We need 2.5 for these bottom plates. Little sandy there. I'm going to pop these two screws back in there. And looks like I need a smaller one again, the 2mm. Getting the pins out. I believe this is called the D block. Alright, I'm not sure how much of that I actually got on camera because I ran into an SD card issue, but we'll just pick up here. I've removed the control arms. Here's the difference between the original stock ones and the new ones. We'll go from there. Slide our pin back in. Put our D block back on. Then we are going to switch that out to 2.5. Clean all the dusty sandy crap off of that one. Flip that back into place. flip on back over. Now we're going to, I've already had this one off to clean out the crap from behind the 14mm wheel hex, so I'm not really going to worry too much about that, but I am going to put a couple of drops of oil in there. Not that you saw any of that. Put a couple of drops of oil in the pivot point. Going to reach in here to take this screw out and apart. That seemed pretty good, actually. Seems like the previous owner had already Loctited these, so I'm going to tighten that back up because they feel really good and snug. And maybe get my tool back. And I should have thought to do that before I put oil in there. So, slide our axle back together again, make sure it's nice and free. Slide that in between our A-arm. Grab our pin. Am I getting that? Yeah. Slide that back in there and push it all the way in, because on this one it gets plugged in by a Phillips screw. Why would you use Phillips when everything else on these is hex? Get your threads started, rolling in there. A little crooked is okay, it's going to cut its own threads anyway. And that's in. Get our upper arm back in there. Try to remember which screws it was. That's those, I think. Do the same on the other side. We are going to reach in there real quick just to make sure this one feels the same. And it does. Again, with a couple of drops of oil. I like to use 3-in-1. Mostly because of the convenience of the can, but it does also have to do with that it is good oil. So, pop that in there. Let me wipe up some excess. Get our axle, or our pin. That slid in there. Push it all the way in there. Grab our new Phillips screw. And press in as you're turning so I can start biting some threads into that new plastic. Get it snug because it really isn't going to go anywhere. We slide, oh, you can't see any of that. Then slide our axle together. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Get our upper arm finagled in there. Get some. Alright, well, had some GoPro issues with the SD card and lost a whole bunch of footage that I thought I was recording. But I went ahead and did, buttoned up the rear end, did the left side of the front end with the new arm. I did discover that I don't have all the pieces I need to use those shocks, so I just reinstalled the stock shocks for now. I'm not sure if those shocks are even going to work for me. They're quite a bit bigger, longer than the stock shocks. So I either need bushings for those or shorter shocks. I'm going to do a little more hunting. But we'll get to the other side here. And keep it rolling. Hopefully my SD card will hold up through this process. Saw somebody else on the interwebs use those shocks for their Granite, doing this wide version kit, and it seemed like they were probably too big to me at that time when I was watching that too, but I didn't think a whole lot about it. But now that I actually have them on there firsthand, I'm thinking they're quite a bit too big. They are definitely more of a 1/8 scale shock, and well, I have a few of them, so I'll probably just hang on to them as spares. So pull our pin out here, maybe. Oh, well, that one was in there stiff. That one doesn't want to let go. Alright. So, axles still look good on the front as well. Slide our pin out. Get our new arm in there. Slide our pin right back through. Slide that on in. Get our pin back in on the lower. Just running through this one fast because, well, it's not much different front to rear. There we go. Yeah, that pin's pretty tight. Probably should have threw some oil in that. But we'll just keep going, right? Put your screw in there in the end of the A-arm for your pin. Same thing, pushing firmly into it while giving it a spin to get the thread starting. Just make it snug because that one will strip out real fast. They don't go in there very tight at all. Yeah, and I probably should have done that first. turnbuckle out. The correct wrench. I will have to reset total toe, of course. But we'll do that in final setup. And go from there. Probably going to replace a bunch of these arms. Crank it. Camber turnbuckles out a lot. This, of course, isn't the final setting for them either. Once I get the wheels on there, and you use a speed square to set them. And as I said before, I like to set mine right or about a thin 1/4 inch, we'll say. Yeah, the toe is definitely going to need to be cranked out quite a bit more. So that is pretty much it for installing the Typhon wider A-arms. Get our shocks back mounted up. And we'll get our A-block put all back together again, and that'll pretty much button up the front end. For the time being, I'm putting the shock bolts, screws, whatever, and the outside hole on the A-arms. On the RPM A-arms, there are 2 different holes, and I'm using the outside ones. That may change as far as where I want them to be, but time will tell once we actually get this thing out and running. Put our A-block back on. Not that you can see that. Let's see what we can do about that, though. Not that it matters, because you haven't seen most of this. Because of my camera issues. But so far so good. I haven't gotten that message since I reformatted my card. So we'll see how that does. Hopefully it's a long-term solution. Absolutely amazes me how fast your bench can get completely destroyed mess-wise. Get our 2.5. All right. And that's pretty much it for the initial install of the wider A-arms. Again, we will have to do quite a bit of fine-tuning and adjustment once we get farther in this build. The next one, we will be installing electronics. I'm still waiting on a couple of parts yet, pinion and a servo saver. And we can start installing electronics in the next video. And probably getting the wheels on and getting into the camber and toe adjustments. It's a pretty easy process, especially the camber. The camber is super easy to line up and figure out. Toe gets a little more complicated, not drastically, but we'll get into it in the next one. So till then, this is the Old Man's Garage. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you see here, give me a like, maybe subscribe, hang out for some more. I will be doing a lot more how-tos, and as soon as we start getting a little weather out there, I'm going to be doing a lot of good bashing. And this one's going to be tough and do a lot of good hard stuff. I know I'm not the first one to build something like this, and I know I can go buy an out-of-the-box Arrma that is already this tough, but I wanted to build something and I wanted to bring you guys through it with me. So here we are, and this is what we're doing. So till the next one, take care, guys.